Your life experience, good or bad, is a gift when you share it with others. At Taxi Chronicles, we allow real riders with real stories to share their gift. So hopefully this episode will intrigue, enhance or inspire you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we're honoured to have a guy all the way from Sony Music. And he's going to explain what he does for the company and what it entails, and hopefully we can learn something for any younger students out there who want a career in the music business. Now's the time to listen. Nice to have you here today, Jack.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so first and foremost, what made you get into the music industry?
So I've basically, since I was about 15 or 16, I wanted to be in music. Went to uni, did English Lit, which was useless for getting into music, didn't really help me at all. But I was applying to everything from age of 23 or something. Ended up getting a job where I learned how to do like social media and digital marketing stuff and like paid advertising, etc. So like Facebook advertising, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And then it's kind of a funny story where I'll do the short version, but I went for a walk one day during lunch, stopped off at this burrito stand and started talking to this lady just really randomly because she had a really cute dog. And I said, "Oh, where do you work?" And she said something like Director of International Artist Marketing at the Orchard, which is the label I work at Sony. I said, "Oh, that's wicked. That's like that's a company that I've like applied to work for before. Do you know if there's any roles going?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "Yeah, there's a couple roles going. What do you want to do?" I told her. Ended up applying. I'm still like really good friends with her. I look after that dog when like she goes away and stuff now. I really lucked out with it because like I'd had so many rejections that it was kind of like the best kind of example of it's about who you know in music a lot of the time, so just keep like meeting people.
So your charm and curiosity.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. I think it's just lucky day that like the dog that she had looked a lot like my dog when I was younger, and I was a bit hungover, I think, so I was just like, I need to go and speak to this lady about this dog.
Give us a typical day of what it's like for you in your industry.
Sure. So, I mean, I've been at Orchard now for 2.5 years, I reckon, so typical day, I mean, it changes every single day, to be honest. Like, I think when I first started, it was very like focused on anything I was doing would definitely be online, whereas I think it's a bit more broader now where I'm working across pretty much anything marketing wise. So some of the bigger artists I've worked with are like this artist called Dodie, who recently got like a number 3, Moses Boyd, who was Mercury Prize nominated last year, like and that's all come from starting out pretty small with like little independent acts and just learning my trade. Kind of day to day can be anything from, you know, booking ads for these guys or coming up with like really interesting like online activations or that kind of stuff, just keeping them top of mind in their fans kind of social medias.
Okay, that's interesting. What would you say you've learned from working in this industry that you wish you knew when you started? And what kind of personality does one person need to have to do this job?
That's a great question. I reckon I was quite shy when I was younger, and I didn't really put it together that this job is so like about who you meet and being open to new experiences. Like I was quite like stupid in its fact. Like I'm gonna make my way in music, but I'm gonna do it my way kind of thing. It doesn't really work that way. You've got to go out, you've got to go and meet people at gigs, you've got to go and like chat to everyone and anyone you can, because, you know, it's not fair that the only way really to get into music is through who you know, but it really is. So just like everyone in music is like nice. There's like, you know, there are occasional dickheads obviously, but like if you just go and like ask someone if you can have a meeting with them or meet for a coffee or any of that kind of stuff, it's just building a network, and like that networking thing is so important. And I think if I was younger, I definitely would have wanted to know that.
Okay. What was the biggest personal hurdles that you had, and how did you overcome those?
Well, that's a great question. Sounds really stupid, man, but it's the pandemic. Honestly, like, I started in 2019, and I tell everyone this, like, I had the best year of my life just because, like, I was finally working in what I wanted to be working in. I was working with artists who I loved and who I respected, and the music I adored. And I was finally doing the stuff like going out to gigs and, you know, getting this network that I keep talking about and stuff, and it was all working. The pandemic struck, and everyone's had a tough time with the pandemic, and it's awful. But I think my particular experience, the worst thing about it for me was that all that stuff that I'd wanted for so long, I had finally like gotten into, kind of been pulled away again. And I, you know, the job, even though it's a really fun job and I've got nothing against it, like, the best part about working in music is the people that you kind of meet and you talk to, and the gigs you go to and all that kind of stuff. In terms of like workload and stuff, I wouldn't say there is any hurdles so far. Like, everything I'm doing I'm pretty comfortable with. I think there's different like genres and bands and stuff that you need to get acquainted with, but it's quite a fun like challenge. Like, no two artists are the same, and no two artists need have the same requirements, so you've got to kind of just bend and do whatever for whatever the artist needs.
What are the kind of requirements that an artist usually requires? And how do you deal with their egos or their inner ambitions? Because I say that because some people are quite I believe as artists have been quite shy when they're coming into it, and other people think like the sun shines from
yeah, for real. It's funny, like when you're working with, there's a big difference between working with an artist that's like just getting into it and an artist who's quite established, as you might expect. Like, the whole thing about working with an artist who is just getting into it is kind of building up that ego for them, because particularly online you need to have a bit of like confidence and just be kind of comfortable with who you are, because the more promotional stuff you do online that artists do and stuff, the more boring it is. You need to have a bit of a personality, because that's what people like attach themselves to. Whereas the bigger artists, it just depends. Like, there's some that I've worked with, no one's been awful, but I've heard stories of, you know, people absolutely freaking out or like going full diva and all that kind of stuff. And like, I think that's kind of the good thing about working in the independent side that I do, is that these artists know that their success is on them. Like, this Orchard part that I'm talking about that I work for is like, we only work with independent artists, musicians and labels. It's not like the major label structure. So even though I'm part of Sony, it's not like the Orchard's not a Sony. Like, it's quite hard to explain. We're a distributor. So yeah, I don't know. I would just say, like, as long as an artist is willing to put the work in and has that kind of desire, it's quite hard to ever be mad at them about diva stuff, because they know that it all kind of drops on them.
Okay. Does artists ever get a say in controlling their own social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I would never take over an artist's social media.
Oh, is it?
I'm here to fucking bring the best out of these people. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they've got questions or anything like that, I'm here to help. I'm not gonna like run their social media and be like, right, this is how I think you should be, all that kind of stuff. Because honestly, like,
it's got to be natural to
people have got to be natural, man. Because you can tell when someone's running someone else's social media because it's so fake. And the artists that I work with who do the best are the ones who are like very natural and like themselves.
Okay, that's interesting. I always assumed that like some big corporation runs the social media, but mind you, I used to think Trump didn't tweet his own tweets to somebody else until somebody explained to me. What does the future hold for you?
That's a good question. So I've been here 2.5 years. I've absolutely love it. Like, I've got no interest in leaving Sony or the Orchard whatsoever. Like, I think the next things are just progression. Like, as I said, like, I'm working digital marketing at the moment. I absolutely love that, and I've just got to kind of decide if I'm gonna progress down that digital marketing side and just kind of like try and increase my like value and just work on bigger campaigns and bigger artists and stuff, or if I want to go more into overall marketing, which, you know, can involve anything from like putting vinyl and physical production together to out of house marketing, which is like billboards and whatnot, telly, all that kind of stuff. But I think, considering I had no experience 2.5 years ago, and I'm now working with artists that have got, over 1 million followers or whatever on thing, and they've got proper fan bases. I'm happy with the trajectory I'm on so far. I think as long as I keep going at this rate, I'll be pretty content.
Yeah, I suppose I see what you're saying, because if you learn how to nurture people at the early beginnings, and then you learn how to develop them, managing the ultimate beast will be like one of the final creme de la creme parts that you will have, but the foundation is managing people from nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I work with some really incredible people who have been doing this for a long time, right? I mean, some of the bigger artists that we have are like, Georgia Smith, BTS, all that kind of stuff, like worldwide artists now, who have had to come from nothing as well. Like, it was before my time, but being able to see that kind of trajectory in other people that see that kind of fulfillment that other people that I work with have kind of achieved, that's kind of like what I've got in my sights. It's like, that's where I want to get to.
I take it you've been to uni already?
Yeah.
What was your path of education for you to get this job that you took?
It's the funniest thing, man. Like, the way, like, I went to uni at Leeds, and I loved it, but I loved the social aspect of it. Like, if I was to look back, I don't think I would have gone to uni, because I've got this like student debt burning a hole in my thing at the moment now, and I'm just
I'll ask you how much it is.
I actually, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but last time I checked, it was over 100 quid or something that was coming out just from,
No, the student debt is only 100.
No, coming out like a month from
you don't know how much is it?
I'm not sure what it is now.
14K.
Is it?
13K,
oh.
And that's from over 20 years.
I was the first. I think I was the first year of that. What was it, like $9,000 thing?
Oh,
whenever that was.
Gosh.
So it's a lot of money.
27.
Something like that, yeah.
At least 27.
Something like that.
Okay, so what degree did you do?
English lit.
English lit. And your A levels?
A levels was English, history, geography, and no, that was AS. Yeah, A levels was English, history, and geography.
And you got your 4 GCSEs minimum, C and above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't interested in education. Like, it only kind of hit me that it was important when the uni stuff started to roll around. I was like, okay, well, I need this to be able to do this. If I look back at it though, so what I was like kind of saying is that I don't know if I would have done uni if I was to get the opportunity again, just because I feel like I could have gotten to the stage that I'm at now without that 3 or 4 years. I'm really glad I did it because I love the experience, but education wise, that English lit degree, like, it's got nothing to do with what I'm doing right now.
Okay, that's interesting. Sorry, my mind's gone blank. So
good.
with the education, you said you weren't sure if you needed to do it, but then you realised you needed to do it because of what you wanted to get to.
Well,
is there a more affordable way of getting to your profession now?
I think there's more opportunities now than there has been in the past. Yeah, just because like there's a lot more focus on providing opportunities and also kind of like introing people to the music industry, because I think it feels like quite unattainable before you're in it, and then as soon as you're in it you realize that, oh, actually there's all these different paths, you just don't know about it. Whereas I think when I was growing up, in my head the only way to work in music was to work at a major label, and it's just not true. Like, there's millions of independent labels, there's the live sector, there's loads of stuff going on, and there's all these like initiatives about getting young people into music and giving people these pathways through, and like also getting rid of the whole unpaid internship thing, which has been massive in music for the longest time, I think.
Did you do that?
I did a couple, yeah, but
what, years, months?
So I did a couple months at a PR agency. I did a couple months working at a live thing up in Leeds when I was uni there, but nothing ever led to it, and it's just because like there's no accountability with an unpaid internship. I think slowly but surely companies are kind of learning that they can't do that because it's just unfair. Like, not everyone can do an unpaid internship. Like, I'm lucky in...
It's discrimination.
It is, yeah.
For people who can't afford it.
100%. It's a privilege thing. Like, I'm lucky enough that I could like live at home and I live in London. Like, but if people don't live in London, how the hell are they going to do an unpaid internship at a music label or anything?
Well, then that's just one of those things where you're born. It's
Yeah.
luck of where you're born. Then, isn't
It is luck, but it's not. It doesn't feel fair that people who aren't potentially from London wouldn't be able to have the same, for the same amount of work. You might be more qualified for the job, but can't do it because you don't have anywhere to stay. And it's just not fair. And I think it's getting better slowly.
It's funny you say that, because as a Londoner, I'd say that's their problem. I would. I'd say it's your problem. You was born in Leeds or born wherever, it's not my problem. If I wanted to be a farmer, I have to leave London. And I may not have a place to stay.
Oh, interesting.
Do you see what I mean? So the wind can blow both ways. It just depends on what job you want to do. And your parents should have thought about that. Because otherwise you could go as far as to say, well, what about the person who's born in the Caribbean? They should have an opportunity to be able to come here. So, well, why?
Yeah.
You're born where you're born.
I wonder if that will kind of shrink with the whole online thing that's happening at the moment, though, like being able to do a job from anywhere,
Well,
like,
personality, you spoke about personality, didn't you?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
You're not going to get that quite through
online, In music, that's important, but in other industries, I can see it shrinking. If it's just a job where you need to be available, and you can do it from being online, then I'm not sure.
I suppose it depends on what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's the same with anything, but in music, it does feel like being open to new experiences, different kinds of people, all that kind of stuff, and just having the right attitude, I think.
That's interesting. You've been a great guest. Last question is, what's the impact you want to have on the world?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, you know what? There's no way of me saying this without sounding really douchey, but the best thing that I love about my job is the kind of impact that it has on fans. Being able to do cool stuff with some of these artists that I work with, like Dodie or Ola Gartland or Moses or Jay Gray or whatever, and then seeing fans lose their mind over new music or a show or any of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that I do this for. It's the stuff that I really love, because I remember being that kid. Do you know what I mean? I remember standing in the crowd, I remember being online, getting excited about a drop, all that kind of stuff, and it's just I don't think I ever found anything more exciting than when that happened. So being able to be part of that for this new generation of fans, for different kinds of artists, all that kind of stuff, that's what I'm in this for, and that's kind of the impact I want to have. The more I can do that, the better.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that.
No worries.
And we wish you well.
Cheers.
We hope you liked that Taxi Chronicles interview. Don't forget to share and subscribe to get the latest episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economies and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources. Listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. British Standard Time.